Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Okay. You're welcome to another Climate Wednesday for today. And with me today is my host, Mr. Femi Idowu. Hello, Mr. Femi, hope you can hear me.
Good afternoon. I can hear you clearly. I'm here.
Okay. You're welcome to another series for today, waste management. We've been talking on waste management for some weeks right now, and today's series we'll be talking on budget allocation and its impact on waste management in Nigeria. And with you as my guest speaker, Mr. Femi Dewu. Okay, so could we have a brief introduction of you? Tell us about yourself, your work, and what your company do, especially around waste management and recycling.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Femi Idowu-Adegoke. I am a chartered waste and environmental sustainability consultant with over 18 years in the industry, both in the United Kingdom and Nigeria. Presently, I'm a co-founder and executive director at EcoViridis Environmental Technology, a company where we convert waste to resource, where we convert municipal solid waste, recyclable municipal solid waste to be precise, to secondary raw materials for manufacturing.
So your company directly converts newspaper waste for recycling.
Yes, we do. We convert like the likes of plastic, glass
Okay.
to secondary raw materials for onward manufacturing here.
Okay. That's nice. Nice to have you today on the Climate Wednesday Talk series. We're really looking forward to have a very lovely time and educative interaction with you. First of all, today's topic is on budget allocation. Now, can you just tell us the correlation between budget allocation and waste management in Nigeria? What do we mean by budget allocation in correlation with that in Nigeria?
Okay, budget allocation is a fundamental component for waste management because waste management actually needs funding from every stage of the whole process, from collection to transportation to treatment and to disposal. So there is need for proper funding, and that proper funding actually comes from mainly from budget allocation. And like the World Bank says, or recommendation of the World Bank, that each state or each country, for the developed countries, they need to have a recurrent budget allocation for solid waste management at 10% on a monthly basis, because it is deemed that those countries are developed and they have existing infrastructures. But for developing countries like Nigeria, it is set at 15% because it is deemed that we have it is not deemed, it is true that we have poor infrastructure as it concerns solid waste management. Therefore, the 15% budget recurrent allocation that has been prescribed is to cater for both solid waste management, collection, transportation, treatment, and disposal, to create more infrastructure, because we are short on infrastructure when it comes to waste management. That is the correlation.
Okay. So recently or presently in Nigeria, you're saying that the waste management budget allocation is of 15% for countries like Nigeria, right?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying Nigeria is doing that. I don't think we're doing that. We're far from that.
But
But
apart from
that
that,
is
exactly.
yes, that is the World Bank recommendation.
Good. Okay, the World Bank recommendation for budget allocation on waste management. Okay,
Yeah.
so now we'll use our budget. The budget allocation is necessary. Is necessary right now in Nigeria.
it is
to be
fundamental.
implemented. Yes.
Yeah, it is fundamental for waste
Okay.
management to move to the next
To
phase.
move to the next phase. Okay, that's very good. Okay, let's go to now. How can green budgeting play a role herein, and what would be the effect year after? What would be the
Well,
effect?
waste management being a key expenditure when it comes to climate change, because green budgeting is meant to affect our financial policies towards the environment. And therefore, there has to be a collaboration between the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Environment, because the Finance Ministry have the understanding of budgeting, while the environment are professionals, are experts. So we need to marry the two together to be able to give the right budget, allocation, planning, and implementation for environmental issues like waste management, which has impact, either mitigation or adaptation to climate change.
Okay, so having that as a major role, a play role, and the effect there is so it's so voluminous to see that it is really fundamental for budgeting to take a major role in waste management.
It is fundamental
Right.
across all stakeholders. There has to be budgeting because fund is needed. And when fund is needed, you must budget what you need.
Okay. Okay. Waste management budgeting allocation only is peculiar to government or also to private sector, right? Is it
Well,
peculiar to government or just private sector?
that's a very good question. It's not just peculiar to government. I would say, like I said earlier on, across board, from every stakeholder, even from citizen at home, you have to budget on your waste, because if you're going to get your waste collected, you should be willing to pay for it. You should be willing to pay for the service. So not just government, even the citizens have a role to play. The government has a role to play. The private sectors as well, which we normally refer to as commercial and industrial waste generators, because everyone generates waste. So we must be responsible for our actions and inactions. So budgeting is across board, even from the citizens to the government, across board.
Now, the huge companies. Now, we've talked about the government. We've talked about private. Now, huge companies. Do they also have a key role to play in waste management?
You mean big companies or
Yes,
private
yes,
companies?
yes. No, big companies,
Yeah,
private
they do.
sector, big companies.
They
Okay.
do. They do, because let me just give you an example. Like in Lagos now, I'm sure you are aware of the uh, private public service provider. That's the PSPs. The
Yes.
PSP that are registered under LOMA. Let me use Lagos as an example now. The PSPs
Yes.
that are registered under LOMA are divided or sectioned into people into household collection and then commercial collections. The commercial ones are the one responsible for the likes of companies that you're talking about, the private sectors, the banks, um, the what they call hospitality industry, other industries. So those companies, they have to pay for the service rendered by the PSP to them. So they are a key stakeholder in this industry, yeah, when it comes to
So,
budget allocation and funding. Yeah.
so budget allocation now. Now, the three sectors you've mentioned have key roles to play in waste management funding.
So sorry, I didn't get you. I didn't get you.
we talked on private sectors, which companies and government. These three bodies have a major role to play in waste management, from what you just
Yes.
explained.
Yes, yes. Like I said, everyone has a major role to play, even from us as citizens to government agencies, local government, state government agencies, civil organization, and citizens. We all have a role to play in waste management as it concerns budget allocation.
Okay, that's where everyone is involved in waste management. Everyone
Yeah,
is involved. Nobody is left out, whether individual, private, or government. Everybody is
absolutely.
involved in waste
Absolutely.
management. So,
Yeah, because we are all
so,
involved in generating waste.
yes,
Because we are all
and
involved in generating.
okay. The process from the inception of the waste to the final disposal. These three bodies, everybody should be involved in it, right?
Yeah,
Okay, in Nigeria. Okay, let me ask you another. From what you
I
just
can't hear
said
you
now,
now.
what you can't hear me? Hello, can you hear me? What about now?
Yeah, it's better now. I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay, better now. Okay. In Nigeria, do you think the government is giving more attention to waste budgeting management? Do you think the
Oh,
government is giving more attention? And what are the consequences if attention is not given to? If this attention are not given to, what are the consequences?
honestly, I would say that government, if it's across board in Nigeria, government is not giving enough attention to budget allocation to waste management. It brings about a lot of challenges why we have not moved from where we are or where we've been. Not to say that there have not been progress, because I can tell you, I'll still use Lagos as an example. Lagos is about the best state when it comes to waste management in Nigeria presently. Um, Between 2005 and 2015, Lagos State made some giant strides by moving from just a contract allocation for waste collection to the franchise style system that we see in the PSP. That's the private service providers. And that has grown. And I know some other states are keying into that model as well. And they're trying to do that. But having said that, because of lack of funding, which is as a result of improper budgeting or lack of budgeting, enough budgeting, successes. Even in Lagos, politics has come in, and that's one of the challenges. We have a lot of politics have come in after 2015. We've had policy somersault. We've had implementation somersault, which has taken us aback. And then some other states are still not doing the right thing. So the budget deficit in Nigeria as it concerns municipal solid waste management is huge. Is huge. But like I said, there are social, cultural, and socioeconomic challenges because as a people, we don't even want to pay, they don't want to pay for the service. Willingness not to pay, they don't want to pay for the service. They see waste management as a social service from government. And if you dump everything at the foot of government alone, we might not make much advancement or make much progress. So that's why I said earlier on that waste management is responsibility of everyone across the board, because from point of generation to point of disposal, it involves funding, it involves budget allocation, it involves participation, it involves education. So these are, once we don't have enough budgeting, we will have lack in capacity building. You cannot build. We will have lack in knowledge. We will have lack of expertise, and then we will lack the major one, which is infrastructures. Because if we don't have infrastructures, then we cannot deal or treat or manage our waste sustainably.
Okay. You mentioned some key factors. They mentioned education. You mentioned
Yeah.
education. Can you just highlight on education in review of waste management? How do
Okay,
they tend
yes.
to educate people on that?
Yeah, we need to educate people on what I call sustainable waste management, which is the modern model.
Okay.
Is a modern model. So people need to know the what we call the waste management hierarchy. If people are not aware, if there's no advocacy, that there's no education, people will just be putting money there, and people will not even know the right thing to do. People must know that we have three basic R's, which I can break down into 5, 6, 7. We have the reduce, reuse, and recycle, which you can actually break down to rethink, reduce, reuse, recover, and recycle. People need to understand those concepts. If you want me to recycle, what are the benefits? So you need to give them, there needs to be education for the citizens. And then again, we need to invest in research. We need to invest in research for our academians, for our professionals, so that we can think global and act local. So if we don't have to every time look to get technology from abroad and dump it here, we need to be able to localize the industries. But how do we do that when people are not properly educated and trained to do it? So that's part of it. Yeah.
From what you just mentioned, you notice that Nigerians look into something that generates income, right? Most
Yeah.
Nigerians look into what generates income. Now, not mind the effect of pollution, waste causing pollution, it's littered everywhere.
Yeah.
And people want to look more at the income side. What would you have to say for people to generate waste management into a source of income for people? People generating
Okay.
waste management into a source of income for people.
Okay. Already for so many years, for decades in Nigeria, there has been informal sector who we refer to waste pickers. They pick waste, recyclable waste, they pick them and they sell them for survival. They sell them for money. Up until recently,
Yeah.
like 10 years ago now, 10 years back now, we've had some kind of formal engagement in the waste recycling space, waste recovery, waste upcycling. So there is, like I always say, waste is a resource and not a problem. And for every resource, it must have a value. And then you need a sustainable waste management to deliver that value. And that's what you are asking for, to be able to deliver the value in the resource of waste materials. And that's where recycling is taking us in Nigeria.
Good. Good one. Where recycling is taking us in Nigeria. Now, from what you said recycling will be a good input in waste management projects, right? So where do you see Nigeria? Where do you see Nigeria in waste management in the next decade, next 10 years? What do you see? What can you view to feel that okay, waste management could also be a source of income, livelihood at the same time, also cleaning the environment from pollution?
Fantastic question. If I take us back 10 years ago up to now, recycling was not very well or very pronounced in Nigeria. But today, I can tell you that recycling is gaining traction in Nigeria. And all I can hope and believe to happen with the right policies, with the right budgeting, with the right know-how, with the right implementation strategy and plan by 10 years time, which is by 2031, which is very close to which is just like a year after the Sustainable Development Goal target, which is supposed to be 2030. We should, even in Nigeria, if not the entire country, I'll just use Lagos as a case study. Lagos by then should have a more robust and inclusive, engaging waste management strategy and in place.
Considering the population of Lagos State and the
Yeah.
large output of waste it produce, how would you be able to curb this waste management? How will curb this waste at the same time we are still going to use it to make this sort of livelihood more encouraging for people, because people tend to see waste as a job that they might not want to go into or trade into. You
Yeah,
understand?
I get what you're saying. Yeah, the onus lies on people like us, yourself as an advocate, myself as a waste management
Yes.
professional, the government. We need, like I said, we need to do more advocacy. We need to speak the language that the people understand. We need a lot of people, a lot of companies or businesses in Lagos are doing incentives to encourage people to recycle. We need to do more of that. Lagos State Waste Management Authority has come out with Lagos Recycle Initiative. There need to be more advocacy around that. There need to be more strategy to deliver that to our doorstep. People need to know why they're doing it. They need to know what is in it for them. And then the government too as well on their own part needs to know that this is not just something they are doing as a favor. It has to be a must for us to practice sustainable waste management from cradle to cradle, no longer cradle to grave, because we've been used to cradle to grave, use, dump, and throw in the dump site. But for now, we need to put more emphasis on closing the loop, on telling people about the circular economy, how waste management can generate income, can generate employment, can generate livelihood, and we need to start from rethinking. What do I mean by rethinking? That's or the topmost preferable on the waste management hierarchy. Rethinking, why do you want to generate more waste? Do I need this thing? Why should I get it? If I don't need it, why get it? Or should I be more green in my purchase? You understand? Rather than use polythene bag that will generate more waste on plastic, why don't I use cloth bag or jute bag? So those are the kind of rethinking. Okay, reuse. Okay, why don't I buy things that I can reuse? So we begin to work like that. Then we look at recycling. Okay, if I get it, can I recycle it? If I use it, okay, what can be used for? So these are the kind of things that will be coming to our mind, and then it will become a culture. We need to change the cultural. There has to be cultural involvement as regards our waste management in Lagos and in Nigeria as a whole.
Oh, that was a valid point. You actually mentioned the part I really expected, in the fact that people need to rethink, think of things you can reuse. Just think of things you can reuse that you don't have to use immediately and throw away, right? You think of things you reuse, things that you can help to curb waste waste in Lagos State, because Lagos
Yeah.
is seen as a case study where we have most people generating waste daily by daily, and tons of this waste are being generated. You said you mentioned something on sustainable waste management, right? Can you just
Absolutely, yes.
elaborate further on that? Because people just feel that the sustainable goals has nothing to do with waste in regard to waste. Now, looking at budget implementations, how would that sustainable waste management you mentioned, can you just elaborate further so people can understand where you're coming from when you mean sustainable waste management?
Okay, what I mean by sustainable waste management, indiscriminate waste management actually contributes a lot to climate change, to ozone depletion, because organic waste, when dumped openly, uncatered for, emits methane gas. And methane gas is a high potent gas that contributes a lot to climate change. So that's why we need sustainable waste management from cradle to cradle. The waste, from waste presentation, from containerization. How do you present your waste? Do you just throw it, or you bag it, or you put it in a bin? So we need to educate people from that. Then waste transportation. How do we transport our waste? Are we just transporting anyhow, or do we have a strategic transportation for our waste, using less fossil fuels? So these are the things that contribute to mitigation and adaptation of climate change. So from there, then after collection, you look at the treatment. Part of the treatment is recovery, is recycling. What can we make from our waste management? What can we make from our recyclables? So we begin to look at all those things, and we get it done as well. Then after that, we look at disposal. So we'll have minimal disposal. By the time we've gone through the waste management hierarchy, from the most favorable to the least favorable, then you will find out that what we are dumping at our landfill site and our dump site is very minimal. And like in Lagos, you find out that Lagos is a small landmass, and that we're running out of space for landfill. And let me quickly mention that in Lagos, we generate about 45% of organic waste, which can actually be used either for fertilizer, organic compost, or to generate energy, which is biogas through organic waste. So, and by dumping that 45% carelessly, without proper management, without a sustainable waste management plan for it, we are inviting a lot of climate change effects on us.
Okay. With what you've said, you said in the next 10 years, we see Nigeria working towards achieving waste management implementation budget, right?
Yeah, that's my desire, and from where I like using Lagos as an example, from where Lagos started from and where Lagos is now. I think in the next 10 years we should have gained a lot of traction when it comes to budgeting, allocation, from the state government, local government, from private sector, from individual citizens. By then they should have the knowledge that I need to pay for my waste. That's from the citizens. And government needs to know that, oh, I need to collaborate. Like you said, like your question about sustainable development goal, collaboration and partnership is very key. It's a key goal. I think it's goal 17. It's very key. And then for the budgeting, like I said earlier on, the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Environment, they need to be able to work in sync, to work together to deliver a proper budgeting for waste management.
So, the waste management project in Lagos, is it really running at a low pace or at a very fast pace? In the view of, in the next 10 years, we hope to have achieved this. We hope to be at a very, very sustainable waste management level, right?
Okay. I wouldn't say it's running as it should be, and I wouldn't say it's running low. Let's just say we're not where we were before.
Okay.
We've made some movements, and that's a progress. And with the way Lagos is going now, with the introduction of technology, opening up the space of waste recycling in the state by the Lagos State Recycling Initiative, bringing more aggregators into the fold, I think and I believe that in the next 10 years, it will be a more robust industry for everyone.
Okay. So from what is happening lately around the world in as a developing countries, what recommendation do you want to give? You could start with you first of all. What are the things you've faced, the challenges you faced, the challenges you faced, and recycling. You run a recycling company, right? A recycling
Yes,
newspaper. So, and over there where you are, you see that, and you use that as a source of livelihood also.
yes, absolutely.
So, what recommendation would you give from you running that in that sector? What recommendation would you give even to private, to for government? What recommendation would you give? What recommendation could you give?
One of the number one recommendation is for Nigeria to become what they call it, a global standard. We need to
Mm,
adopt the global best practices. Once we adopt global best practices from our policy making to our agencies to our operational and our implementation, from all the um, value chain, if we adopt the global best practices. Like, for example, I'll give an example of Lagos now. Lagos has started recycling initiative. It needs to get to the industries. We need to partner with private sectors. It has to be a closed loop from across the whole community, from the citizens to Lagos State government or the agency managing it to local government to the private sector and then to the practitioners, which I happen to be one of them. Government policy needs to create enabling environment, more enabling environment to bring in more investment into the sector. The sector actually need more investment. Government alone cannot do it. So we need private sector investment in the space as well. So these are the things that when we adopt global best practices, these will come naturally. But if we're not practicing global best practices and we're doing things haphazardly, we will just be going around in circles or we'll be having what I call oscillatory motion and no movement. We'll just be going back and front, no movement.
So for government, you're recommending that the implementation, we should work to in making sure that what they've budgeted should be implemented.
Absolutely.
So for private companies, we should work in collaboration, right? We should work in collaboration. And for what about individuals? What would you advise individuals? What
The
recommendations
what?
would you give for individuals, you, me, and everyone else that has less knowledge about waste management?
Okay, I have said it that as individuals or as citizens, we must have a behavioral change, a social cultural change, attitudinal change, that we cannot just be irresponsible with our actions and inactions. We need to be responsible for our ways. We need to obey and know that we can get value from our waste. And after that, government can come with enforcement. But I don't recommend enforcement first. You have to educate the people. You have to change, educate them. You have to incentivize them. And then after that, we can now come with enforcement. So those are the part of the people, the citizens. For the citizenry, we need to be participatory. We need to be responsible. We need to be ready and willing to have a social cultural attitudinal change.
Attitudinal change, as you earlier mentioned. What about in the low level education from foundation one, probably in schools? Would you advise? Would you advise that? all waste management recycling should be encouraged in schools.
Yes, definitely. There's a lot of that going on. There are a lot of NGOs, there are a lot of private sectors who their own target, as my own target as a private sector, is to convert waste to secondary raw materials. There are NGOs and private sectors who their goal is education. At least I know quite a number of them who go to schools, both primary, secondary school, even in the tertiary uh, school, tertiary institutions. There is a lot of advocacy and education going on. Yes, we're not there where we want to be or where we're meant to be, but we have started. There is a lot going on there. So yes, it is highly recommended. And let me just put this in. I am aware and know that even Lagos State Waste Management Authority has what is called Loma Academy, and I believe that is to be able to educate people more on proper and sustainable waste management.
Loman Academy in Lagos. So if states
Yes,
could also do something like that, from programs like that, probably it could really help in achieving a sustainable waste management project, right?
absolutely, absolutely.
So
It is something that needs to be embraced. Yeah,
so hopefully in the next 10 years we're getting there. If
yeah.
such
Hopefully, in the
academy could
next
be
10 years.
put in place, yes, hopefully
Yeah,
in the
hopefully
next
in the
10
next
years
10 years. Yeah, in the next
we're
10 years,
getting there.
we would have had more states take more cognizance into budgetary allocation for waste management, knowing that it is more profitable, more environmentally friendly, and more sustainable to manage our waste. Another example is what is going on in Ogun State now. The private service provider system that has been in place in Lagos State for over 10 years is being introduced in Ogun State. So the franchise system is introduced in Ogun State presently, and people are registering.
Hmm.
So we're getting there. We're getting there. We just
We're
need to do
getting there.
more.
So
Together, we
next,
can all do more.
yes, together we can all do more. Yes. And the good thing about advocacy is the more we keep talking on it, the more we keep doing it, the
Mhm.
more results comes in. People tend to want to key into it and say, okay, I want to try this thing. I guess I should better use this thing, which would which
Absolutely.
would be better and will curb waste also in will curb waste in the environment, make it environment friendly. Okay. So
Absolutely.
globally, do you have recommendations globally on budget implementation of waste management globally?
Yeah,
What recommendations do
globally,
you
my
have?
recommendation. Yeah, globally, my recommendation will be, I think, will be for the developed countries who already have a structure and have
Okay.
the capacity and the capability to begin to look at the developing countries who are showing willingness. We need support, but the support won't come because it costs a lot for that support. So the support won't come if we, as ourselves in developing nations, are not contributing what I call our own counterparts funding by budgeting a substantial amount for our waste management. So when that is available, we can get foreign investment from both countries and private investors. They can come in and then help in developing our structure and strengthening our structure as well. And I'd like to further mention that a lot of part of the substantial amount of the budget for waste management should go to and development,
Hmm.
research and development to develop local technology and capacity. Because if you develop technology or you are bringing in technology and you don't have the right personnel to manage, we're back to square zero. So those are my recommendations.
The developing countries, if they don't work hard, to make sure that we put this in place, we could go back to square zero.
If we don't, we'll go back to square zero.
Which is harder to fix. It gets harder to fix. If you go back to square zero, it gets
Because
harder to fix.
yeah, it becomes harder. We make it hard for ourselves. So where we are now, there's no going back. It's just to take the further steps forward, improving on our stride. Where we've gotten to now, we shouldn't relax on our laurels. We should keep striving to get to the global standard, like I mentioned earlier on. And everything that is needed should be catered for across board, from the citizens who are going to generate the waste, who are going to present the waste. So you must know that you have to pay for the service. So the non-willingness to pay, we should eradicate that. And then the government agencies and the private sectors who come to pick this waste must come on time. They must come promptly, because when you don't come promptly, then the people get discouraged. So all this has to be in place. And then we ourselves who are in the private sector, waste conversion, waste recycling, we need to begin to pull our games, have our structures in place, have our books ready in case there are interests from both local and international investors. Because if you don't have the right prerequisite, nobody wants to invest in your business.
Very good. Very good. Very, very good. You've mentioned you highlighted all aspects that need to be touched, from locally to governmental to private bodies down to globally. Very good. Okay. So, Mr. Femi, what encouragement or what do you have to tell we youth, especially? Any encouragement from
Wow,
you to tell
fantastic.
you that go into this is also a source of livelihood and also to help preserve our nature. Yeah, environmental friendly.
Okay, okay.
Any
The my
encouragement?
advice, yeah,
Yes.
my advice and the word of encouragement to the teeming Nigerian youth is to act responsibly towards the environment. And when you act responsibly towards the environment, you will not dump waste indiscriminately. That is the first law. So and then you can take interest in, okay, what even they are talking about recycling, they are talking about upcycling, they are talking about recovery. What is in it? You can now take interest, because I can tell you there are still white collar jobs out there, but there's a lot of competition. So it's better to look for the blue collar jobs. The waste pickers, like I mentioned, they've been around for almost forever, and they've been making a living from what people call trash. So you can turn your trash to cash.
Mm. Turning your trash to cash. I think that's a nice one. That's keyword today. Turning your trash to cash. Okay. Nice having you, Mr. Femi Idowu. Hope to see you again in the program.
Idowu-Adegoke, Femi Idowu-Adegoke.
Adegoke. Okay, Mr. Femi
Femi Idowu-Adegoke.
Idowu-Adegoke.
Fantastic,
Nice
yes.
having
Thank
you.
you.
Looking forward
It's
to
my
have
pleasure, it's
you
mine.
on any of our series again. Okay. Thanks. Bye.
Bye, thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.